First day back from the first off day of Redskins Training Camp. We're not worthy. ESPN is in the house. John Keim, host of the John Keim Football Podcast, talking about Washington Redskins.
There you go.
Check it out. Seriously, I love it. It's fantastic. Great interviews, great insight on the Washington Redskins. We are thankful that you were here with us today. It was a hot one, not only with the temperature, but with the competition. We had our first couple of fights out there on the practice field. I didn't get to catch it. What'd you see out there?
Well, what you saw, well, first of all, those things just kind of happen, and you're like, what happened? What happened? What happened? What I saw was a little pile up, and there was a defensive lineman, and then Tyler Catalina, something happened, and then out of nowhere, Tim Settle comes diving in at Catalina, knocks him over, and then he walks away, and then there's a pile up, and it looks like a couple punches thrown.
Wow.
And then back up, and then it was Jeremy Sprinkle and Monte Nicholson kind of threw one another to the ground. That was over within a few seconds, but you're always going to get one or two of those in camp, and it's funny because like today's a hot, brutal day.
Yes.
Coincidence? I don't know, but I'd be a little bit angry out there too in pads.
Yeah, it was certainly a lot of build-up from the first couple of days. Great practices, mind you, and they had the off day, chance to rest. Chris Thompson told me he was playing video games. Jonathan Allen was working out and sleeping. Just a couple of examples. What'd you do on the off day while I'm at it?
Well, I worked. I actually went back home and I worked. I went on a bike ride, had a nice dinner with my son, got to see my wife and my other son.
Excellent.
And then I got an email during the day saying, hey, can we get you on at 7:15 in the morning on SportsCenter? So I woke, I was like, well, I have two choices, either late at night coming back, can't stay awake that late, or drive that late. I get up at 3:45 and hit the road at 4, so I was back here early. So, but it was a good day out. It was a good day away. It's nice to get away. How about you? You have a good
I was
day?
at the City Open covering the
okay.
tennis tournament. Got the chance to talk to a lot of different players, including Andy Murray. But I'm going to take a guess. The reason you were on this morning is because the Redskins have signed Donald Penn.
Well, that's not why I was on, because they still, it's all about quarterbacks.
Oh, it's about the quarterbacks.
It's about the quarterbacks. But with Donald Penn, that was something that was always alive. From the time he was here, even after he left, I was told, still a chance. So they got it done. I think there was some, for Penn's part, there was something about with the money. He wanted a little bit more money. He's getting $1 million from the Raiders this year, so he wanted a little bit more money, and I think there were some other options. But I think it's good insurance for them with Trent Williams still holding out. Eric Flowers, they need to get him inside to guard. That's where they signed him for. They know what kind of left tackle he is. That's why they signed Donald Penn. So they needed to get him in. They needed a veteran in here. And even if Trent Williams does report at some point, Penn then becomes good insurance as a swing tackle.
Absolutely. And don't forget, Corey Robinson also signed to the Redskins offensive line, just adding the depth.
And Jaron Christian comes back.
Yes.
So him coming back, and today he was out there working left tackle with Flowers at left guard. That's a good sign for them as well.
We also saw Chase Roulier out there today.
And Chase, yeah.
So everyone's back on the field. And
getting the gang
that's
back.
A good sign. Trent Williams, everyone's talking about it. It's one of the weirdest storylines I've seen play out in terms of holdouts for training camp, because we haven't heard from Trent.
No, I know.
Yet we've been seeing these reports that he's unhappy with Bruce Allen, he's unhappy with the medical staff, and I've said this out loud. If Trent just came out and said something, we would have some direction, and we haven't.
Well,
so what are you hearing?
Well, and I think I have the same thought, that I think it'd be nice if Trent, because there are a lot of reports, nothing's been refuted, but nothing is being necessarily confirmed by his side. So I think it would be nice to hear that. What you do hear is that, yes, there is a problem that he has with the team/medical staff. How deep it is with Bruce Allen, I don't know that I'm ready to go that far to say that there's something beyond repair with that, because if it's about that, then it's about the direction and the goings-on in the franchise, not just the medical staff. So I think that's one thing. You know, you hear that he has told guys that, he doesn't want to play here again, but even some of the guys he's told still think he's going to show up.
Namely Morgan Moses at the podium the other day.
Yeah,
he was wearing his jersey.
Right, but there are some other guys too that you talk to privately. It's like, I know, I hear this and he told this, but I still think he's going to be here week 1. So I think the key here is week 1. Is he here? Is he willing to give up those game checks? You can say a lot of things right now, but when you start missing those game checks, what's your action? They don't have to move him. They have him for 2 more years. They don't have to do anything. So they're not going to, I don't think they're going to extend his deal either.
So Dwayne Haskins had his best day of camp on Sunday. We agree there?
It was a very good day, yes.
Very good day. So how is his progression going? And do you think he's starting to catch up to Case for that starting job?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Still a long ways to go.
I definitely think there's still a ways to go, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
They knew that when they drafted him. The number one thing you heard all the time was patience. Patience. They know what they have. They know what the work is needed to be done here, and it's not just about like what we see out there. He looked good throwing the ball. And it depends on, are they scripted scenarios or not, because that's when you can, you should look pretty good there. He did look good. He was more in rhythm and more fluid. But what you still hear is, guys will talk about this, coaches will talk about this, calling plays in the huddle, relaying the play from the sidelines into the huddle. How is that going? It sounds simplistic. It's really hard. If you haven't done this before in Ohio State, that's not what they were doing. So it's a lot different for him. Handling blitz situations, how's he doing there? And those are things like we see out here, times where maybe he tucks and gets out of the pocket and throws the ball. Well, in the coach's eyes, they're saying that's a sack.
Yes.
So, so I think there's been I think there's some good things to see. When he's right, when he gets that pre-snap look, man, that arm looks good. And you see where he can get to. But you also know on a daily basis that he's still catching up to these guys, and it's going to be a while. I think it's good for him that Alex Smith is here now, to have 2 vets with him. I think that's all good for him, and they have guys who play in the NFL around him. They know what he needs to do. I think he's in a good spot, and he is improving. It's going to be a slow build. People be patient with him. It's like I'll tell you, it's not about week 1. This is not an all-in for week 1. We've heard that before. It didn't work. This is about long-term, and that's their focus, is building him for the long term.
This is why it's such an interesting storyline, because the expectation is to make it to the playoffs.
Right.
Jay Gruden believes he's not going to be here if they don't make the postseason.
He's not the only one.
Exactly. And all of the fan base wants to see Dwayne Haskins out there. So it's just, which way do we go? Where is the team really focused on?
Well, I definitely think it's the veterans, because I think they need to trust what you can do out there. And if there are any issues calling plays in the huddle, you're not going to put him out there.
Right.
You're putting him and the team in a bad position. So why do that? Put the kid, it's not just about going out there and learning. You can't just go out there and learn. If you have to be able to execute what they need you to do. Otherwise, you're putting yourself in a bad spot, and that's not good for Dwayne. So what's best for them right now, you're going to see either Case or Colt. Unless there's a dramatic improvement or change over the next month, it'll be those guys, because they know what they're getting. They know what they have in Colt McCoy, and I think they know what they have in Case Keenum. Case just has to learn the offense. Dwayne has to learn the offense and a lot of things in the NFL, cadence, calling plays, all that stuff. It's not easy. Give him time. He'll be good.
Defensively, they've won a couple of days of training camp, and it's been the backfield. Josh Norman, Landon Collins seem to be gelling as quickly as we anticipated they would. What else on the defense has impressed you so far that they could become one of the best in the NFL?
Well, listen, you know where it starts. It starts with that line. And it's not just, it's Ioannidis, Payne, Allen. Allen is just, it looks really good.
Yes.
But the guy that you're going to have to watch this preseason and the season, I think, is Tim Settle. I think he's looked really good.
Yes.
Now, he had the diving hit. I think, I don't know if that was a good shot or not. I think you could, but overall,
I think. The tape.
Right. But overall, I think that kid looks really good. So he just gives you, when you have good depth on that defensive line, man, it makes a world of difference. And because of him, I think they have that. That's jumped out at me. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. And I like where Moreau is at, and I love what you see, what Jimmy Moreland has shown too.
How about middle linebacker John Bostic and Sean Deion Hamilton? Do you like what they're doing so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell sometimes with the linebackers because you got to watch them so much. I think when I've been able to focus on him, Bostic calling plays, seems to understand that role. Sean Deion Hamilton showing more of the speed that I think they thought he'd show when they drafted him, and he was coming off the injury last year. And the other guy that I like in that spot is Cole Holcomb, the rookie. I think when you watch him, he does a really good job of hitting the hole and getting there quick. So I think that a guy like that could play really well. Same with Sean Deion Hamilton, all those guys. You have a defensive line like that in front of you, and if you can play quick and diagnose well, you're going to make some plays in the backfield. And I think that's, now, I don't know if it'll play out that way, but on paper, that's what you look for.
John Keim, ESPN, with us for our practice recap. Again, you can listen to his podcast, the John Keim Football Podcast, talking all things Washington Redskins. Great interviews, great insight on Redskins football. Looking ahead to these next 2 days of practice before we hit our second off day and get ready for Cleveland, what are you looking forward to most in these next couple of practices?
I don't know if there's anything in particular. I think just watching, I'd like to watch Dwayne Haskins more in the 2-minute situation to see where he ended there. Had a rough day today in that, to say the least, a couple picks. But I like to see him more in those situations. And what I want to see is, how does that left side, because things that they need to see, the left side of the line, how are Flowers and whoever's playing tackle, how do they look? How does Donald Penn look when he comes in here? Because that's going to be a huge key if Trent Williams doesn't show up. You need to get those guys going. How will Flowers look at left guard? Those are details, because I think with this offense, if Jordan Reed keeps looking like he has, and Chris Thompson keeps looking like he has, this offense has the foundation for some level of success. And then with Geis, and I think the young receivers, but that left side of the line has got to be better, so that's what I want to watch.
Yeah, it makes or breaks any NFL team across the country. Look at Eric Flowers, who's come in here. He was a left tackle for Eli Manning, could not keep him upright, really derailed that whole franchise.
I mean, it wasn't good. And so, but he's going to a new spot inside. How does he handle there? His technique, it's got to be better, but how does it play inside? That's what I'm curious to see.
And last question I have for you. I've been asking the players. You're the first person I'm going to ask that isn't a player. 7 items, essential items, to make it through training camp from a media perspective.
Media perspective. Oh, boy. Well, definitely one of them would be my bathing suit, because I like to go swimming after this afternoon practice just to cool off and to get a little bit more exercise.
Okay.
That's one. My sliders are another, because my feet get too hot during the day. So you got to get that. I mean, I have to have a coat and tie to get. That's all work stuff. I have a book that my son gave me.
Oh, very nice.
Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I'm reading that. That's another. Can I say wine?
Yes.
So actually, you know what? I didn't get it, but I have
you talked to Will Blackman on your podcast.
I did about the wine.
I love that interview.
Oh, good. Yeah, Will's great. Will's great. Let's see, what else is there? I have music. I have a little music stereo box.
That's stool. The stool for the side.
Oh my God, the stool is number one. That is absolutely. And my hairbrush, wherever it is, because you never know. Baseball hats.
Flawless.
Baseball hats are another thing. So I don't know if that's 7, but that's some of the essentials.
Yes, it is.
I don't think I even said underwear, but that's all right.
He's John Keim. You can listen to him on the John Keim podcast on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, wherever podcasts can be heard. You can see him on ESPN, the Route Sports Center. Get Up even? Have you been on Get Up yet?
Not yet.
Not yet? Still waiting to talk to Greeny.
Yeah, I got up early today, though, but yeah, I could have been. Yeah.
But yes, check him out. He's all over at John Keim on Twitter, social media, all the works. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you later. As always, keep it locked.